One more time. Yeah. I think it's the starter. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We are here once again with the Ford, about said Dodge, with the Ford F250 Super Duty with the 7.3, and came out here this afternoon. We were on our way over to a friend of ours' house to work on their mower, and the truck would not start. We put the key in, and initially it turned over like it was going to, and then it just stopped. I'm like, all right, okay. Turn the key again, click. Turn the key again, click. And we're like, all right, so what could be going on? What could be wrong? So as you can tell, we've got the jumper cables hooked up, and earlier, I'll go ahead and disconnect this just so we can kind of talk through this. Now on the 7.3, they have batteries on both sides. So we've got a battery over here and a battery over here. This is not the actual battery for this vehicle. I pulled this out of another vehicle just so we could do some diagnostic, some testing. Whenever we came out here, we noticed there was a lot of corrosion around the negative side post. I mean, it was really corroded, caked on bad, and thought, all right, that's probably our problem. So went ahead, did the usual things, took the positive and negative off, cleaned everything really good, and had some issues, of course, as you always do when you're doing these types of testing. The nuts here, you know, were C's basically. Had to pull that out. Didn't have another top post, battery terminal to use, so went ahead and pulled one off of another vehicle. It would not work. It was not big enough for this large heavy-duty hose or this heavy-duty wire, and so had to put everything basically back together using the parts from that somewhat, and managed to get it all put back together again, and put the new battery in, or I should say the battery from the other vehicle in, turned the key, and it was shooting sparks out of here, and looked like it was a little loose, so we kept tightening and tightening and tightening. Got this thing snug. I mean, it is super tight right now, and did all that just basically to try starting it, and it did the exact same thing, where you turned it over and nothing. It just clicks, and I'm pretty convinced at this point that what's happening is, because you can see this draining, you can see this actually pulling current. This literally moves. It's pulling so much current through there. Give a second here. Background noise on my side, folks. Oh, razor he's got's loud. Yeah, it is. Neighbor's got a razor. It's a really nice razor. I love it. Wish I had one, maybe one day. But it's got some, it's got some power to that sucker too. So, anyways, so you can literally see the wire jump whenever he turns the key over. This thing moves, so it's pulling current. Solenoid's clicking fine. Just nothing is happening inside, going from there to the starter itself. I'm pretty well convinced at this point what's happened is the starter has failed, and that does happen, especially from what I'm reading, at least on the 7.3 model. It appears as though it will fail due to insufficient grounding current at the starter, and I can't say that really it's that big of a deal in terms of the performance of the starter. He's had this truck for about 20 years. And yeah, about 15-20 years, and he's never changed the starter on it. So it's probably the original starter, and this is a 2001, which means this starter is about 24 years old, possibly. It could have been changed before you had it, maybe. But if it has lasted 24 years, that's a good life, and there's nothing you can complain with on something lasting that long, at least a part like that. So what we're going to do is we are going to try and replace the starter. I've never replaced a starter on this. This is a new experience for me. It is a little different in some ways than some starters, and about the same as others. It looks from what I'm reading online, from what I'm seeing, appears as though it's held in place by 3 bolts, and just basically the bolts that hold the nuts that hold the wire on. That's about it. So it shouldn't be a project that takes more than about an hour and a half at the most. I'm sure a professional could do it, with a lift in 15 or 20 minutes. I'm neither a professional nor do I have a lift. So I am going to be crawling on the dirt. I am going to be crawling in the dirt, as you can tell, and there should be sufficient clearance, possibly underneath here. I may have to wiggle my way under here a little bit, or we might be able to push the truck down. It's a little bit flatter through here.
Yeah, good enough of it.
Yeah, if we get everyone over here pushing on it, we might be able to pull it down into this area here, which will get it off of where it's at. I mean, it's either here or over in the gravel. So I think I'll take this.
Yeah, not a bad laying on.
Yeah, the only problem that we're going to run into is rain. They're calling for rain this evening, and I'm hoping to get this done before it rains, but I don't know. So what we have to do to make this project successful, first and foremost, we need to disconnect both of our positive negative terminals from the primary battery and then from the secondary, the auxiliary battery. So basically what you have the primary, and you have essentially I was going to say auxiliary, but accessory. So I was trying to say an accessory battery. This is not a 24 volt system. This is 12 volt. So positive, goes to positive, and negative to negative. So pretty, straightforward there. We'll just need to pull off the terminals here, and over there. We can leave the batteries, at least this one anyways, in place. We'll pull the other one that I was using for diagnostic testing out. Hopefully that solves most of our issues. I know we've had some other issues with some electrical components with this vehicle in the past. Some corrosions, a few spots. I think it could benefit possibly from being able to have some additional grounding done to it. That might resolve some of the issues. You basically have a ground wire here. Of course, you've got a little frame, or not a frame, but just a body ground going here. So that's about it in the way of grounds. I do like these top post batteries with the extra connections here. That way, if we want to, we can run some additional grounds, and it would not be a bad idea to get another ground strap, ground wire, just to run from here down. And then if we ever change out the other battery, we could do the same thing on it too, just so we have some additional grounding going on. That might help some of the issues too. So then that's a pretty easy, cheap upgrade. It'll actually, help everything move and start a little bit easier. So.
You got it. I was fixing you to plan.
Oh, I thought it was a one of those horse flies.
No,
So anyways, we're going to be working on that here in a little bit. Right now, I will go ahead and disconnect this. We'll do the same on the other side. That way that's done. So whenever we get back, all we have to do is climb underneath here and disconnect the old starter and hopefully put the new one in. And hopefully that resolves the problem. Outside of the starter, I'm not really sure what else it could be. The solenoid's clicking, we're getting that engaging, and we are seeing, again, we're seeing a lot of current. I mean, there's no doubt it's getting current going down to the starter, because it's literally, like I said, jumping. You can see it. The wires move when it's bringing that much current down. So it's not an issue, I don't think, in terms of getting current down. So I think the solenoid's fine. Again, I'm hearing it engage. I have no doubt. I have no reasonable doubt, anyways, that the solenoid's the problem. But it could be a combination of the two of them. I mean, that's always a possibility too. That's the issue about diagnosing electrical problems like that, is you can have multiple issues that can be going on. But I'm hoping that this one issue turns out being the primary problem, and anything else is just we're good to go for now. Kind of need the truck back on the road. Yeah, we use it quite a bit. We've been hauling some gravel here lately with it. I guess we've probably done about 3 or 4 loads. Yeah, about 4 or 5 tons of gravel with it here lately. Hauling it up and down through here, and between the driveway here, the office, driveway on the lower property, all that. You know, we've been moving some gravel by hand, you know, so, you know, we're tired. You know, so, yep, we're doing a lot of... All right, so anyways, we will go through, disconnect the connections on the battery, and we'll see you in a minute. Word of caution, whenever you're working on this, make sure that you disconnect, obviously, both batteries, and put the battery cables out of reach where they cannot possibly end up accidentally energized in any way. So we've got this one disconnected. We have this one now disconnected. We will, when we get back, we will move this one out of the way for right now. Actually, we'll go ahead and move it out of the way. The reason I'm going to move it is because this battery here, again, we were just using it for testing, probably is too tall for the hood. It might be okay. It might be all right, but I'm not going to take the chance. The other battery is a little lower profile, only comes up to about right in this range.
That one just right flush with the fender.
Yeah.
With the metal.
So, and you can tell this one's rising up above it here. Yeah, so
2 inches.
So that's a little bit on the high side. So what we're going to do is we'll pull this out, drop the hood, and then whenever we get back, we should be good to go. We'll double check just to make sure no one's done anything crazy at that time, and then we can crawl up underneath here and get to work on changing out the starter, and hopefully that fixes the problem. Where is it? No, that's not the starter. Starter's under the vehicle.
It's big.
Yeah. Yeah, it weighs as much as you do. All right, so we are at it once again here today. We woke up this morning and it was raining. The problem is that on a homestead, you're not always at the I guess you are at the mercy of the weather, but you're not always able to do everything in nice sunny conditions when it's beautiful and things are perfect. It's not rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes it's storm clouds and rain. And today it was storm clouds and rain. We don't have a garage. All right, so the garage is right now, it's outdoors. That's what we are working with, and that's what we're going to have to use, is just what we have, which is just the ground. Truck behind me, integral part of the homestead. We use it here quite a bit. We've used it here recently to haul gravel. We've used it to help with carrying moving limbs around. Obviously, you know, it's used as a primary source of transport. So it's a pretty integral part of the homestead and everything. Yeah. So we have a lot of use cases for it, and whenever it's out of commission, it certainly impacts some of the things that we need to do around here. Like right now, we need to move some feed down to the lower property, and we can't do it. Four-wheeler is out of commission, truck is out of commission, so we have got to get this thing working and figure out what's going on. So far, we have figured out that it looks like the problem is a starter. Thing is, this is a 2001 Ford F250. With a 7.3 diesel, and there are two different starters that were made for this vehicle for this year. One is a 2-bolt and one is a 3-bolt, and there's a difference in price between the two and a difference in availability. And so yesterday, whenever we went to town, we didn't know which one it was because I haven't been underneath this truck yet, because we had to work on someone's mower for them yesterday, and thankfully got their mower fixed, which is good news. Glad to be able to help them out, but the truck right now is going to need some attention, and so we're not we're not sure on which one it is. So before we begin, first thing we're going to try doing is pushing this truck. So right now where it sits at is a bit of a hill. Bit of an incline through here, and So now we're going to move the truck from here to about, well, we're just gonna move it. Yeah, about 10 feet-ish. Somewhere in this range, about right here. Since it has been raining, we're going to put down rather, a tarp. And that way, if I drop any tools in the process, I will be able to see the tools pretty easily. And if we happen to drop the starter, we'll be able to see the starter pretty easily and be able to get it out of here. Plus, it won't help keep me dry because the tarp's going to be a little wet, but it might keep me drier than just laying on the cold ground, muddy ground. So I won't get as muddy, which is a good thing. Might get a little wet, but I won't get muddy, and that's fine. So first things first, let's move this truck. All right, so we've got a few sockets and socket wrenches here. I think we're going to get 12, 13, and 15 millimeter from what I've read. Some combination of the above. So I'm taking those underneath here with me. Got the tarp underneath here at this point. It's all set up, and all I'm going to do is crawl underneath here and take a light with me, and I'll take you along for the journey. All right, so as you can tell, we have some bolts to remove. We have one that's already missing. Not sure what happened there. So it looks to me like there are 3 bolts holding this thing in place. We have one down at the bottom here. So right there. And one here, it should be. Looks like it's missing. I'm not sure if it's been broken off or what. Not feeling anything in here, but that doesn't mean much. And then I'm putting my hand on one back here, I think goes to the starter too. Don't know 100%, so we're gonna figure this one out. But it looks like that's the case. There is possibly a smaller one up here at the top too. I don't think that one goes to the starter though, honestly. I don't think that's part of the starter. I think that goes to something else. So we'll start with removing this one here. Then we're going to remove the one back here. Once we have the starter pulled out and down, then I will try to remove the nuts that hold the wiring on. So we have wiring here. Let's see if I can get you a better angle. Those of you watching this, so I got some wiring goes over to here. And then one over here. So get that to focus a little bit better. So we have wiring here and here. And once I have this out and down, then I'm going to try and remove the wires from it at that time. Hopefully there's enough, I guess you could say, free play there, and whenever I pull this out and down, it will be able to do what I need it to do. All right, I guess we'll get these 2 out and we'll see what we got and go from there. That is bigger than a 15. That's funny. That's what they said. That's about a 17. That top bolt was actually hand loose, and So now we're going to need to get the wiring part off. Looks like maybe they said either a 13 or 15 and an 8. So we're going to pull those off. So it looks like maybe a 15 and an 8 for this one for the solenoid and one for the starter. So I'm going to pull off that first one and get the second one off. Hopefully the camera don't cut off on me again. It cut off last time while I was recording, which sucks. Yep. Alright, let's try I'm trying this 15 on here first, see if that's what that is. Yep, that's what it is. Working on this hours ago. Unfortunately, the weather had other plans for me today. So whenever it's like that, you just deal with it. Thankfully, the sun's out somewhat now. Even though they were saying it wouldn't come out until about 5 o'clock. The Lord gave us a break, so we're taking it. I'm thankful because we got to get this thing running. Mercy. Finally got it loose enough by hand. Alright, that one's loose. Good. Now we got the small wire on the solenoid to get off. Ouch. Well, guess what? It's bigger than an 8. I'm guessing 10. Okay, so for whatever reason, Ford decided to make two different starters for the 2001, 2002 and ish era. One is a 2-bolt and one is a 3-bolt. So this is the 2-bolt. This is the one that came out of the pickup truck that we were working on today. This is what we picked up from O'Reilly's yesterday. I took a chance, I had not been underneath the truck yet to see which one we needed. So whenever they went to O'Reilly's to pick up the new one, they're like, okay, which one should we get? And I'm like, well, we got a 50-50 shot. Let's just go ahead and take a chance. We'll get the 3-bolt. Plus, the 3-bolt was about $50 cheaper than the 2-bolt. That was one of the reasons. But the other thing was like, well, you know, the 3-bolt is probably the more common one. It'll give you more surface area for mating, so therefore it should hold torque better. And so I'm thinking, logically then, that should be the one we would need. So while they were there, they picked up the 3-bolt yesterday. Well, get underneath the truck today and take this one off, and guess what? It is a 2-bolt. So we have a 2-bolt starter and the 3-bolt replacement. Now, the interesting thing about this particular year is that they made both kinds and they created the mating surface so that it will accept either one. That is the weird thing. Now, I gotta be honest with you, which one would you prefer to have? The 2-bolt or the 3-bolt? Now, I'm thinking if it'll fit, I would prefer the 3-bolt. And the reason I prefer the 3-bolt is a 3-bolt, if it will fit in this scenario, is it would allow better surface area and would hold torque a lot better. Now the question here, of course, is will it fit? And that one is, I do not know. Again, like I said, whenever I was on it there earlier, I did see where there was both a 2 and a 3. I do not know 100%, which one we are actually going to, be able to fit in this scenario, if we can even fit the 3-bolt, if it's the right, right mounting surface, etc. But I did see that 3rd bolt. I do not know if that 3rd bolt, though, has been threaded or not. So we got to figure out which solution that we're going to have to go with right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a comparison between the two, show you the 2-bolt versus the 3-bolt. That way you can decide which one ultimately, works best for you in your scenario. Okay. All right, so I had to do some research real quick. So it looks like the way whenever this mounted before, I had this kind of twisted, but you can see it's still the same, it's still diagonally the same. So from here to here, it's the same, and here to here is the same. Now, what's different is that this is the bolt that was missing anyways before. This is the one that had no bolt hole, or no bolt rather, in it, because it's not available here. So whenever I reinstall it, this is the way it would need to go back in. You'd have the one up here on top, which is the one that's a pain to get to. You'd have the one on here on the bottom, which is the same one we had before, identical. And then we pick up this new bolt hole right here, and this will allow the solenoid to actually sit back up in here. Before, it was sitting up here. So that's something we got to be careful of, is when we go to mount this back in, are we going to have enough room for the solenoid to sit where it needs to sit in this? Is there enough tolerance, enough clearance for this to go back in here this way? Because we cannot mount it, just to show you anyways, we can't mount it this way, all right? And obviously we can't do it this way or this way. When it goes back in, it will have to go back in this direction, basically right here. This will be the bottom area. I really want to use the 3-bolt if we can get it to work. So let's go ahead and try checking this out. First and foremost, what I need to do before I even attempt this is to take the old bolt and try it and see if this back bolt hole will actually work. Will it work? Is there an actual thread in there, or is it just a smooth bore? I didn't check earlier. The surface on my video when I was looking at it looks like it was a smooth bore, but there could be some threads back in there a little bit further in which case we're good to go. So keep fingers crossed. Back in a sec. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do a little test here. Do we have the ability of using either? Can we put a 3-bolt starter when there used to be a 2-bolt? Question here is, all right, I know that this is the bolt hole before, right here. This is the one before. This is the one I'm questioning, right here. All right, so we're trying this right here. We are putting this in, and guess what? It's threading in. Ha ha ha. Good news, we can use either one. All right, let me go ahead and tighten this sucker down. I want to chase this out and make sure before I try putting that starter in, we're good to go all the way through. It's a good idea to double check this. What you don't want to do, or have happen anyways, is you get halfway in, you find out that the reason they went from a 3 to a 2 is because some idiot rounded off one. Okay? Remember, any 10-minute job is one broken bolt away from a 2-day ordeal. So, I like these ratcheting wrenches. They work really good for situations like this. So, using my father-in-law's wrenches here. And this one, he had a 17. So it's good to use to get your hand on a little bit easier. There we go. Camera doesn't make this any easier, I'll tell you that much now. This camera I've got, for some reason, wants to keep dying on me whenever I lay it down. It's not dying, it's just hitting something on there and cutting the camera off. Alright, so far so good. We are almost to the depth that we would be once the starter's put on, that we would need to be at. I think we're going to be alright. Now, I did research this before I attempted to try this, just to make sure that 2 or 3 would work. And everything I'm reading online, they're all old posts from about 2010 and back, and everything I'm reading online indicates that it should be fine. AI says it should be fine. Everything I've read so far says it should be fine. All right, all I'm doing right now is loosening this back out, and we'll clean this bolt up and make sure. Now, we're going to have to go and pick up a new bolt because we don't have a third one. That's the only thing. And I would like to put some Loctite on here too, just because, like I said, I'm a little concerned because that one was a missing, or I should say a loose bolt. So I think we're in luck. I think we'll be able to use either one, 2 or 3. So stay tuned. We'll show you us getting this sucker back together. First bolt in. This is the one that was in there before. I have got it to the point to where it's basically snug, not overly tight though, as you can tell. I can still move this thing around. You do not want to put it in and have it to the point to where it's basically torqued down all the way, because then you're not going to be able to get the top bolt in. So don't do that. We're going to have the bolt here going in as well. I don't have that one. I've got to go and pick up another one to go on the bottom down here. These are not the same size. I don't think, at least. Let's try that, double check. Correction, they are the same size. They're all the same size. So we have 3. These are 17 millimeter heads on here. 17 millimeter heads. So I'm going to go ahead and get the top one in, only because it's the hardest one to get in. Once I have that one in, then we can go ahead and go to town, and we'll pick up another bolt to go in here and reattach our solenoid and starter wire, and then we'll be good to go. Need some fast orange to clean up my greasy hands. Every time I try using gloves, I don't care what they are, I tear them to pieces in no time at all. I need extra large. I'll have a large. What do? I have to come back and get a battery whenever we're done. We'll see. Hopefully this fixes the problem. Yeah, I'll get some microfiber towels. I need some. Alright, so we managed to go to O'Reilly's. We got the old one taken back, so that's been swapped out. And we have the new one installed, but we still need a bolt. And I was surprised because I thought that O'Reilly's would have actually had the higher quality bolts between the two, but he's telling me that Tractor Supply actually has a higher quality bolt. So we just left Tractor Supply and we found the bolt. It's not the right one. It is the right size. It's a M10-150. This is a 30 millimeter. Really needed probably about 33-ish millimeter. Kind of weird. Or 35. Anyways, this is not a grade 8 bolt. It's class 6.5. Excuse me. I'd like to have a grade 8. So what we're going to have to do is order a grade 8 bolt. We will do that off of Amazon, and whenever it comes in, we will swap it out. So all right, we're heading back to the house, and we'll slap this thing back together and finish up the project, I hope. So we have managed to get the starter reinstalled, and right now we're just trying to get the battery put back in. Missing the extension that goes onto the socket that tightens down the battery hold down clamp. 8 millimeter hold down, bolt rather, goes onto the hold down. Can't find my extension or my hand driver, so I'm going to use the old-fashioned way of a flathead screwdriver instead. I got it. I've already got you beat. Whenever you are reinstalling the battery, since there's a two battery system in this vehicle, you want to be sure that you don't accidentally end up connecting positive, negative over here, and then have your hot on the other side connected or hitting the ground or something. Otherwise, you end up frying your electrical system. So to avoid doing that, what we'll do is we'll connect the positive post on both batteries first, and then we'll connect the negative post on both batteries. So first and foremost, we got positive going on here. I'm taking the positive over here. Again, my negative is out of the way, down here. Now we're going to go through and connect the negative on this side. Obviously, make sure that you're doing negative, negative, positive, positive. You don't want to damage your electrical system. At this point, the starter reinstallation is complete. We have our batteries reconnected. Basically, all we need to do now is just tighten the batteries down. What do you think?
I think that was the problem, bro.
All right. All right, so turned out that what we were thinking was the problem was actually the problem, the starter. We had gone through and done a lot of testing just to see what the issue was, to see what was the problem. We tested the batteries first. We tested the battery terminals. We tried a different battery. We did everything that we could to reasonably go through and make sure before we replaced the starter that that's actually what it was. I wasn't 100% convinced that the starter was the problem. I was about 99% convinced that the starter was the problem. Now at this point, we can pretty well say the starter was the problem. Went in, fired it right up, no issues, everything looks good. Just backed it up, put it to its normal position. All is well at this point. So